So I'm having some alignment issues with my lights. So I went and started working and started messing around with the aiming. And I have a Federal 71 Stag, and something very interesting I found out. This Stag is a February 71, and it seems like there was a shortage of these turn signal stalks. And so Leyland apparently basically used the one from a right-hand drive car and put it on the left-hand drive. And it seems like another person I was talking to on Facebook, he has the same issue. Initially I thought his was upside down, but he said no, and that's where I got that information from. So initially it did bother me. This home button, actually the handle should be on the bottom, but it's not, it's on the top. It did bother me, and it doesn't bother me anymore because now it probably was like that from the factory. Okay, so what was happening, I was playing around with the alignment of the lights, and there's always confusion between what we call headlights and beam. So the book actually calls the main, or I should say the regular headlights, dip, and the actual beam, when that light comes on, is called main beam. So that's confusing. And so I actually had problems with my main beams. Two of the on this 71 Stag, the main beams, 4 lights light up, and for the dip beam only the 2 outer ones. So I'd realized that the 2 inner ones, one of them was actually facing the sky. So then the best way for me to isolate the problem was to disconnect 2 of the outer lights, which is the dip beam, and just connect the 2 only main beams. So when I was messing around with that, my main beam stopped working. This switch, I was operating it back and forward. Well, obviously back only works when you have the lights on, and forward is beam, which is called main beam apparently, and it wasn't working. So I realized, since I was messing around with this off and on 10,000 times, it must be the problem is in there. So a couple of things you can check. There's a purple wire which actually is here, which is always live, so you want to be careful with that. And that connects when you do operate the switch. If you can see that it goes down, it's making a connection, and it also makes a connection up. I don't know if you can see that, sorry about the camera. And it then makes contact with this blue and white line. And so when I was operating the lever, it wasn't working. So the first thing I did was, very carefully, I bridged the purple and the blue. I've actually disconnected the battery. Anytime I work on the Stag, I've learnt the hard way is always disconnect the battery. So I always have a quick disconnect. But if you wanted to check that the switch has the problem, you can actually short the purple wire with the blue and white. Now, the easiest way is just get a jumper, but I used a screwdriver, and I could tell this was working. So I knew there's a connection that is through here. So the only thing left was basically this connection at the bottom. So I did get some memory cloth. Let me try and zoom in on that if I can, and then you actually see what's going on. It's making a contact. I did clean it with some memory cloth and switch cleaner. It didn't make any difference. I was able to get the flash, I will call them, the flash beams to work. Sorry, not the flash, the main beams. When I pushed this switch back, at least that was working, but this one wasn't. So I did clean again with emery cloth, and it still wasn't working. In the end, I had to sort of bend with a small pair of needle nose pliers this contact, and I cleaned it again, and now it seems to be working a bit more stable. And so that's one way you can check if your I would say, main beams, which are the high beams where the blue light comes on, is not working. So that's something that you can check for. If both are not working, it's very unlikely the fuse. There are fuses to the lights. The interesting thing is it looked like fuses are actually on the light end and not near the purple light end, wire end, so you want to be super careful. Okay, sorry about the long-winded video, but I thought I'd just tell you about my goings on with the Stag this week.